Hey, this is Jenn G. I am super excited to have you be a part of this new show that follows my journey through entrepreneurship. Most importantly, I get to introduce you to the people I've met along the way as I build my business and help others build their business. Join me to be inspired, uplifted every time you watch the show. Hey, welcome to the Jenn G Show. Happy Friday Eve, and for us here in South Florida, it's happy hurricane? Question mark? Maybe. So I do know that the cone is hitting all of South Florida. I'm not sure, but we are definitely on hurricane watch, and we want to make sure that everybody remembers to get gas in their car, to get water. The other thing is, and this is so good because I have a financial planner with me, make sure you have cash on hand. I'm not saying take up $4,000, but just in case we have some issues, make sure you can get, necessities. And definitely make sure, if you have pets, do not leave them behind. Find where your pet-friendly motels are. There is a whole slew of them. You can either go on Facebook or Google. They've done a really great job doing pet-friendly hotels and shelters. So have a plan. That's the biggest key to all of this, is have a plan. So, yeah. All right. Today, talking about have cash on hand. It's back to school time. The fall is coming. Our lifting out of the doldrums of South Florida in the summer when it's dead. And we're going to start revving up our finances for our company. And we want to make sure that we're prepared in life for our financial future. So with that said, I'm super excited today to have Sharika here with us, who is a financial planner. And she's going to talk with us about what's most important for us. What do we need so that we can make sure that our financial future is set? Because I think the worst thing that could happen is you turn 70 and you think, oh, what now?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Jenn G.
Of course.
I'm very, very grateful to be here. But you said it, like, that can be the definite worst thing. There's plenty of stories that are similar to that. There's so many things that can happen in life. We've just got to learn to expect the unexpected and know how to prepare it for it. So,
and I just recently read a study that people who are 68, 70 can't retire. And this is one of the reasons, like when you go to Publix or Walmart, you see some older workers because they hadn't prepared.
Right. So the thing is, it's funny, I was just talking about this earlier today. The thing is, we're not taught about finances on a regular.
Yep.
So because we're not taught about finances, we never really kind of understand the right ways to actually move forward, how to maneuver through life financially. And then what happens is we get older and we get embarrassed by what it is that we have. We don't want to share it because then it just becomes this whole private basket that you can't know of, because maybe if you know I'm not doing as well as you are, or maybe if you know I am doing a little better, you might think of me differently. But what it does, it ends up setting us up for failure in the future, because we don't necessarily ever take the time to realize, well, where am I at today and what are my goals, and am I actually on track to getting there? So for most people, elderly, most people that just retire and end up having to go back to work anyway, these are people that thought, hey, I have a retirement account, I have a pension account, I'm putting money in there and my company's matching it, so that's all I need to do, right? And then what happens is you retire and that's all you have, and you quickly realize that this isn't enough to live off of.
So wait, because there are so many different parts in your life that you need to prepare for. So since we're talking about retirement, let's talk about, how do you calculate how much do you need for retirement? People are like, I have a pension, I have $100,000. Well, that's going to go bing, bang, boom.
Very fast.
Right.
Well, the way that you calculate what it is that you need is you have to be realistic with what it is that you're spending. So in retirement, we have to have an idea like, okay, when I'm retired, how much money am I going to need annually? What are your expenses? What does it cost you for fun money? Like, what's your entertainment money? What are your expenses? How much is it for you to eat? What's your same thing? You want to have emergency reserves. You never know what can happen. Granted, you have money coming in, but you don't want to just say, okay, I'm retired now, I'm just supposed to live just as is. Not everybody pays off their house by the time they're ready to retire.
That's an excellent point. Yep.
So
Yeah.
you want to make sure those things are accounted for. And then at the same time, even if you do pay it off, people have this misconception that I'm going to live off of less when I'm retired. And that is not the case.
Yeah, well, I don't understand why people think when they're retired, all of a sudden they're like, I'm really going to eat less. Like, you're not. Actually, you're
getting more, actually.
You're home. Yeah.
Exactly.
So I agree that there needs to be a real plan in place.
Right. So, I mean, I know why people think that, because we see the numbers and it's like, oh, most people live off of 70 to 80% of their income in retirement, but that's an average of the entire retirement, right? So as soon as you retire, and then maybe the 20, 30, 40 years, depending on how long you live, that's an average of how much money you're spending each year in comparison to what you were spending before. But we have to remember that once we retire, we have this free time. We're going on vacations. We're going on cruises. We got a good 10 to 15 years for us to just live our lives. And then you're going to have a real big decline in income as far as your expenses, because what happens is that's when quality of life changes.
Right.
You're older, you're achy, you're not really trying to have too much fun. You're okay with just relaxing at home. So you don't do as much anymore. And that's the averages are two extremes.
Right.
So you can't just say, hey, I'm going to live off of 80% of my income. No, you're going to live off like 130 initially, and then maybe 60.
Right. No, I 100% agree. And then let's talk about that now. You're 85, 86. Listen, you get older, things happen, and there needs to be a reserve for medical emergencies or ongoing care. What if you need to be somehow put where you need a nurse every day or an assisted living facility? They're very expensive.
They're extremely expensive, and you're absolutely right. There needs to be a reserve, and I think a lot of people misread that. They think, okay, well, there needs to be a reserve. I have this money saved up, so if something happens, this should be able to take care of me. But they have no idea what those types of services actually cost, and then they have no idea that there's actually instruments that you can just put in place to take care of those costs.
Right. See, this is why I think you need somebody professional, because you're so close to it. And if you should start. When should you start planning for retirement?
As soon as possible.
24.
Even sooner than that if you're smart. Like, I mean, as soon as possible. As soon as you start working, you should kind of think like, okay, well, what are my goals? Now, you're not going to know, if I'm 18 and I'm just starting in the work field, I'm excited. Even if you get your dream job right then, right out of house, you're just like, forget it. I don't need to go to college. I already have my dream job, right? Even if that's the case, you have to say, okay, well, what am I doing and what am I planning towards? If it's not retirement, you still got to make plans, and you still have to be able to come back and readjust. So a lot of times people get to the point where they think my financial retirement or my financial plan is just a set it and forget it. And that's how we end up with so many people that don't have enough, because we go to work gives us a 401k, they match it by 3%. So you have everybody that's like, okay, I'll just put in 3%. Well, 3% is really not enough. That's just what the company is matching.
Right.
So you've got to really make a plan to say, well, what is my goal? What am I trying to do? Me personally, I like to make my goals anywhere between 20 and 40 years, depending on where you are, and then reassess larger at that point, but definitely always manage it and adjust it every single year at minimum. You want to make sure, if I made a goal that I want to have $250,000 saved up by the next 10 years or so, manage it, see how you're on track to it, make sure that you're actually hitting those goals. And then once you hit it, then you adjust, and then you do better. Or maybe your job changes and you're making more money. You adjust every time there's a financial change in your life.
And I agree. And this is just my personal opinion, not Sharika Ralliford's opinion, but my personal opinion is Social Security is not going to be there for you.
Right.
That's my opinion. I'm watching it. I'm watching the baby boomers. I'm watching what's coming up. So you definitely need a plan.
Right. Absolutely. Definitely. We shouldn't be relying on the money that's supposed to be coming from government.
Right.
We really should be relying on the money that we were actually able to save up ourselves.
Right. And so I think about this often. Although I know school districts are trying to get better at financial literacy, it's just not taught at the high school level or even the college level.
Right.
And so you go through high school and then you go through college, and we see so many kids come out with debt. Nowhere along the way do they say, sit down with a financial consultant, and you should, 100%.
Absolutely.
Or, hey, do you even know how a checking account works? Do you know how to ask for a retirement? Do you know what your benefits are? Yeah.
You're absolutely right about that. And I mean, that could be another story
That's
as
like
to
a
why.
like we could talk about that
That
forever.
could be a whole nother story as to why, it's not taught. I mean, we don't necessarily know why it's not taught. It's definitely beneficial. And it's a vicious cycle, because if you're not coming from a family that has a grasp on financial literacy, you're not getting it at all, and you can't rely on teachers to teach this in school, not even college professors, because it's just not a part of the curriculum, and it's just not thought of.
And it's its own separate thing. I'll tell you, like, my oldest son went to Arizona State University. Excellent school. Loved it. But just a little off campus for the incoming freshmen, there was a representative from American Express who was handing out chips and soda and applications. And
my
there's
first
a
credit
problem.
card. Yeah, my first credit card was a similar situation. I was going to school, and there was an offer for free pizza and a drink. We got 2 slices of pizza and a drink. And when I got there, I won't say the name of the company, but the representative was there, and we filled out an application.
Absolutely.
As long as we filled out an application, we got our 2 slices of pizza and a drink. And that's really why the entire line was there. Next thing you know, you have a credit card in the mail.
Right.
A couple of months later, a month or so later, a couple weeks later, I just went for the pizza. I mean, that's what you do in college,
That's
right?
100% right. And I know for me, when I was in college and I got a credit card, it's so easy to just swipe and it's free. Until you get the bill and you think, oh gosh, I was at the bookstore, my college bookstore. Did I really need to buy an $80 sweatshirt? But it's put it on the card. It's all good.
Yeah, especially because there's a minimum payment. We could just take our time paying it. We don't have to rush.
Right. $15.96. I can do that.
Exactly.
28% interest. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
Right?
I'm just gonna pay this $15, like you said, until it's paid off. Right. That's how it works. Right.
No.
Exactly.
I do think higher institutions are doing better with the pitfalls of credit card and student debt. However, I think it's probably too little.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if there are higher education, institutions that are doing better, it's not enough. Because I know plenty of people that go to school and they don't get that.
Right.
I think right now I see more, Generation Z, we have all these generations now.
We talk about that, yeah.
But I see more of them now, like they're kind of hip to the idea of, well, I don't want to go acquire these loans. They don't necessarily know what they want to do, but they know they don't want to acquire loans. And it's almost making them kind of think twice about jumping into school or whichever. They kind of want to figure out another way.
Which I think makes sense, because 2019, business is changing. And some of the things where it was just graduate high school, go to college, and that was the norm. Now we're in a completely different business cycle.
Right.
Where on-the-job training, I'll say even like for the tech space,
Right.
on-the-job training is more important than if I got an associate's degree.
Another topic that can blow your mind if we get all the way into it.
Yeah.
I was having this conversation with a friend of mine the other day, and it's like, think about it. The biggest moneymaker in this country is education. You go to school and you learn everything that you're supposed to learn. You get your degree only to come out and still have to study for whatever license that's going to actually allow you to practice. So now and then when you actually get that license and then you're actually on the job and doing your training, all that money that you spent to get all those, it almost seems irrelevant. Because I saw a post on Facebook the other day. It's like, listen, make sure you go to school, make sure you get all these things, because I know, there's a lot of things out here that you don't need, but that Pythagorean theorem really came in handy.
I said nobody.
Right. Exactly. So, I don't want to, down our education system.
No, I think
I
that
definitely think education is important, but it shouldn't put us in a financial, chokehold.
Right.
For sure.
And I think that's the best way to put it. Like, it shouldn't put us in a financial chokehold.
Right.
So let's walk through some of the things. One, I just come out of college. I sit down, find a financial planner.
Well,
We found one for you. Sharika's fantastic.
I'm
so
here,
let's,
and I'm
yeah.
all about educating anybody. If you have questions, use me as a resource. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's funny because people don't realize. I mean, the average is like people who sit down with a financial advisor that actually have one save over 250% more in a lifetime than those that do not.
Right.
That's a drastic number. That's not just a little more. That's 1.5 times, like 2.5 times more, like 1.5 extra on top of what it is that you did. Like, come on, like.
And I think that's 100% right. I liken it to this. You have your job, whatever your job might be, right? Mm-hmm. And let's say you are, I don't know, let's say you're a teacher. So your job is to really know what you have to do in the classroom, what you have to do to help your students, how you have to differentiate education so that everyone's engaged. You should also not have to learn how to be a financial planner.
Right.
Or a plumber, or an electrician, or all these other things that you need in your life. And this is why we have professionals who are licensed, have the amount of licensing.
Have a fiduciary responsibility to make sure that they're actually investing or doing whichever, any type of financial advice that they're giving is actually suitable to you, the client, individually.
Right.
There's no one size fits all. There's no one size fits all. Every person's situation is unique. If I'm talking to a 22-year-old that just graduated college, that's a totally different scenario when I'm speaking to a 68-year-old or a 58-year-old who's thinking like, hey, I'm coming up on retirement. Do I have enough? Do I need to change? Or that 68-year-old who may have just retired and is wondering, can I really fund these vacations that I want?
Right.
Like everybody's situation is unique. Our finances change on a regular.
Yeah.
And it's okay to be transparent with your advisor because we're only here for you at the end of the day. I live for the world that everybody is financially okay in retirement and has the choice to do whatever it is that they choose because they met the goals that they set for themselves.
And you, with a financial advisor, you know the products and you know how to diversify somebody's portfolio that makes it in their best interest. So you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly.
With a diversified portfolio, you can then say, this seems to be doing well. This seems to be something we need to change. Or what's your risk tolerance?
Right. So everybody's risk tolerance is different. That's a good point that you make. Some people can be aggressive. Other people can be very, very conservative. Some people have principal protection. They don't want to lose a dime. They worked hard for it. They're approaching retirement. They can't afford to lose anything. And then there's a misconception too, where it's like, if you're older, you've got to be conservative. And then if you're younger, you've got to be aggressive.
You can be bold.
Yeah. But although you can, it's still that individual person. I may be young and not want to lose any money at the same time because I'm just getting familiar. As a financial advisor, I need to be able to recognize that and adjust according to you to make sure that I'm giving you what you need.
Which I think you brought up the best thing. It's so individualized. And you sit down, and I know this firsthand because Sharika is my financial advisor, sat down and we really talk about like what's important. And I left there thinking, all right, we're putting together a game plan.
Right.
Like there's something to be said about being able to leave there and breathe and go,
exactly.
I have a professional. I don't need to know everything, and we have a game plan.
And it's so true when you say that you don't need to know everything. I'm one of those girls that's like, I'm DIY. Like, I can do it myself until I try to do it, and I'm like, what was I thinking? Where's the professional?
Right.
And like, I am not a plumber. This is not working for me. Where's the number? And honestly, I've gotten to the point in my life where I realize, like, it's okay. Like, you can have your profession, and I'm going to respect you in your profession, and I want to be able to work with you in that because you're good at it. You showed me a track record. You're good at what you do. You're knowledgeable, and I trust that. And I trust anybody who's willing to educate me along the way.
Right.
So that's a big deal. Like, I don't want to do it, but the fact that you're keeping me in the loop makes me trust you even more. And that's how it is for financial services. A lot of times I don't know if it's an embarrassment thing or what, but we get into the whole, it's private, you're prying, I can't tell you about my money. Why would I do that? And it's like, it's not about, I'm not taking it from you. I just want to
helping
make,
you.
I just want to make sure it's really going to be there for you. You know, people don't realize some of the decisions that people make just don't make sense. But when you hear another perspective, you're just like, oh, I
Should have
didn't think
thought
of that.
Yeah, exactly right.
Right.
So the other thing is we talk about businesses changing and the way we make money is changing. Much like you have to diversify your portfolios, there is a lot to be said. I think everything to be said about multiple streams of income.
Absolutely. I agree.
If you're going to work one job for 40 years and that's your sole income in this day and age,
Right.
right.
So let me say this, right? I mean, if you're doing everything and you love what you do and you're making the money that you want to make off of it, you don't have to get another stream of income. But if you're someone who is just making it and you have ideas or you have different things that you'd like to try to accomplish, there's nothing wrong with you actually accomplishing them. There's nothing wrong with you stepping out and saying, well, I have this going for me too. You know, having advice, there's people that have businesses that are monetized and that are working for them. And, you know, those little businesses are monetized and they make money in their sleep. May not be much, but they're making something to supplement their income. And then same thing, like, or you can just be doing what you do and just love it and be able to save enough. You know, that's a thing that I do in financial planning and investment management. Like, I help you earn portfolio income. So yeah, I'm helping you earn income in your sleep as well. But you just have to be able to know which avenue that you're going to take that's most comfortable for you.
Right. And I think, again, if you have multiple streams of income, you can do a better job at diversifying where that money's coming from.
Absolutely.
And we all saw like 2008 was a tough time for people because they didn't diversify. So where one industry really was having a very difficult time, we saw other industries were soaring.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's the thing to be said. We're not psychics. We have no idea what the market is going to do. If we did, if your advisor knows and your advisor tells you, hey, I know exactly what the market's going to do this, they definitely would be charging you way more than what they're charging you now. Think about it. If
And I don't know where they're getting their information from. That you might want to look into, like,
if I was psychic, I wouldn't be charging you a measly percentage if I know for sure your portfolio is going to do X, Y, Z. You know, it's impossible for us to know is really the short end of the stick, what I'm trying to say. And there's nothing wrong with that. And that's where the diversifying comes in. That's where asset allocation is important because, you know, last year I believe we ended with cash being the highest. You know, there's another year we can end with bonds being the highest. We can try to put all of our money in a bond fund, but it probably won't grow the way that we want. We could put all of our money in a cash fund and we'll probably miss out on the market if stocks and equities soar. We can put all our money in equities and have a great run and then the next year be all the way down. Like, we have no idea what it's going to do. And what diversifying our portfolios and asset allocation does, it allows us to be able to participate in every aspect in every asset class and still have a steady kind of truck upwards, an average of just going up. And that's what we want.
All right. So I want to make sure, because we broadcast on Facebook, but we're also live on radio. So I want to get your number out there because
Absolutely.
I love that the fact that you said, use me as a resource.
Use me as a resource. Pick up the phone and call me. Like, I always answer my phone. My direct number is 561-276-1660. So definitely just give me a call. I always answer my phone unless it's wee midnight hours. Then, you know, just leave me a message and I'll call back.
And I actually really think we need to, and I want to look into this, get you into the colleges.
Listen, I like I said, I'm all about education. I'm actually working with my alumni, you know, my school that I went to here, and I'm working with them to even get into actually teaching and doing financial literacy courses for the students there as well as the faculty staff. And that's something that I would love to do. I'd love to go anywhere and just kind of just give as much information as possible.
Right. And I think that I'll say, because I used to be a teacher, we all know, so I come from that world where you need that financial literacy because that's not unless you're like the financial literacy teacher, which I don't know how many districts have that, you want to be able to make sure that what you're working for is going to be able to sustain you. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you want to do. And having that financial literacy in place, having somebody that, is an accountability partner is really what I am for you. It helps make sure that you're on track, that you stay on track. But
yeah, you're going to need to be that for me because I have a little shoe problem, a little shoe addiction that I'm going to need to curb. Yeah.
maybe you don't even need to curve it. That's the thing.
No, I've been told explicitly I need to curb it.
There we go.
Yeah. But I do like that there is an accountability partner. We see
Right.
accountability partners in our businesses. We have business coaches. Why not an accountability partner in your financial literacy?
Exactly.
Who has your best interest at heart?
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
Yeah, I love this. Now, will you be going on any speaking tours? Can people see you? We got to get you out talking to people.
I'm available to go on speaking tours. I always definitely set aside that time to do so. I do different seminars here and there. I also do seminars with, the elderly, all types of communities, actually. Elderly populations 55 and up, also
Perfect.
in colleges as well. And love to get into high schools. So
All
why
right.
not?
Well, we're going to get that going. Thank you so much for being on the show. I know time flies.
I know.
Shrika Talford, you have been a wealth of information, and I'd love to have you come back as we get further on to the year and people start graduating. Let's get them financially ready.
Absolutely. And I'm here for it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right, South Florida, be safe, be careful, take your pets with you, and I will see you next week. Thank you so much for spending this half hour with me and my guests at the Jenn G Show, sponsored by MobiPop. Looking forward to seeing you next week where we connect, communicate, and collaborate. Have a great evening.